Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Foran.
All right. What's up, everybody? It's Herschel Foran from High School Top 200. Welcome back to the Monday Morning Meeting podcast. I am Herschel Foran. I run High School Top 200. And this is another week that we've gone past in our preseason. If you want all the information from First Team Rugby from around the country, come on to High School Top 200. Jump on my Facebook, which is High School Top 200. Also my Instagram, which is at the real HS Top 200, and then even on TikTok as well. Like and subscribe. Please like and follow all those pages because all that kind of stuff does great for the algorithm in terms of the content that I put out. I don't really push this kind of stuff, but because it's really it is just up to you if you really want to follow it or not. But I put a lot of heaps of content on my IG and also on my TikTok. It's getting better anyway. It's getting better. But also, if you want to look at the rankings, which will be up soon for also the schools as well as the top 200 players, the top 100 year 12s, and also the top 60 year 11s. That will be up soon. The beginning of the season is coming up soon. So jump onto hstop200.com. It's a $5 subscription for the month. And, please subscribe and follow along. Read all the articles if you want. If you want something for me to write about, you can just message through and I'll write about it. Give you my thoughts, give you things that I've seen and my experience and that kind of stuff as well. So I thought because this is a new year, we've got a lot more new kids that have joined First 15, have jumped on First 15. You don't really jump on First 15. They have made the First 15 this year. So, before we go and do all that stuff, join and follow my Instagram, my TikTok, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. Go subscribe. Then come back and watch the rest of this YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, so because this is a new year, they've had trials, teams are getting finalized, all that kind of stuff. We get a lot more First 15 players joining in this year and finding out about this, and parents also finding out about this. And so, as always, I'd need to sort of give everybody an indication and instructions on what I do and how I do it and all that kind of stuff. This High School Top 200 is all self-funded. It's basically done through the website. That's why I asked for subscription, so I'm able to do this. I don't get funding from anybody else or anything like that. People have donated money to me just out of the kindness of their heart because of what I do. And I've been doing this for 10 years. I first thought of this at around 2010, 11, something like that, where for myself, I'm like a real big NFL, NBA guy, college football and basketball, all that kind of stuff. I really love the NRL, things like that. So I've always been interested in how these guys find and get all these kids through the ranks and how they, find out all these players. And so, as always, like Americans, they overdo stuff, but they overdo stuff in a good way, that in terms of finding talent, you can find the best basketball player in the country as a 14-year-old, things like that. So I always thought to myself, why don't we have that kind of thing here? We're able to track players and track our next generation coming through. So I just thought of I thought I'll just give it a go, and no one else is doing this kind of thing. So I just thought I'll have a shot and do it myself. I really started preparing in 2012, and so 2013 was the first year that I actually got into this and went and did it. And so the way that I thought about doing it, because basketball and like American football, baseball, cricket, even rugby league are all like stats based kind of sports, where I could look at a stat sheet and for basketball and for American football and league and kind of just look at it and go, okay, well, I kind of know how the game turned out, how everyone played, all that kind of stuff, just from looking at stat sheets. And most of you guys in your favorite sport, you can do the same thing. For rugby, though, that's not the same kind of sport where you can just look at stats, and even the stats that are available for rugby are not really that helpful in terms of how, performers did. I mean, even if someone scored 3 tries, it doesn't mean they had a great game. It could just mean that they put the ball down 3 times, You can't have a stat on a guy's effect on a ruck unless you really want to get into that kind of stuff. But there's no kind of stats, for that kind of work. There's no real stat for, not just for tackles made, but the effect on the tackle, all those kind of things. Extra effort, dark places kind of play. There's no real stat for, turnover ball in terms of counter-rucking, like all that kind of stuff. They don't have that kind of stats, and if you were to do it, that is more than just a one-person job, because that's a lot of editing and film watching and all that kind of stuff. So for me, when I started this off and I thought, how am I supposed to be able to run something like this, but also be able to sort of give an opinion that is based on how they play or what they have done and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, well, if I write and talk about players and I show up to the games and I show pictures and I show footage and I do all these kind of things, and I will give my opinion, and then I will make sure that people can see what I think of these players, and it's really up to them to go and have a look and then say, is Herschel wrong or is he right? And the way that I pick the rankings is that I usually just do it how you sort of do it when you're at school. You find the best player, and if we're both picking teams, me and you, and we're picking teams, I go first, you go second, go third. I do it like that. So when it comes down to the number 1 player in the country, you'll go with, whoever you want to pick, and then the person that I pick first is the best person that I think is the best. He gives the best overall game. He gives the best overall performances. His team is doing great. He does, all these kind of things. Then whoever I think the second one is, third one is, and this is all really just my opinion. But the whole point of this is for you to go out and have a watch and then go, Herschel is actually right about what he does. Or if Herschel's wrong, I'm going to write to him and let him know what's up. And so when I put out my rankings, you go have a look. You have a look at what your closest, or who your next son's going to play, and you go, these are all the guys on Herschel's ranking. I'm going to list them down, and then I'm going to have a look at the program when I'm at the game and go, okay, that's who he is there. That's that kid there. I'm going to see if Herschel's right. So from all that, that's how I do things. It is all subjective, it's all just opinion based. But it's whether for you to go, am I right or wrong, and hopefully you go to the games. The other thing is that I found that when I started finding out about first 15 rugby, doing my homework on it and stuff, I found that there were so many other, there was so many year 12s, and private schools would have a lot of year 11s just because they're based on numbers, things like that. They would have younger players come through early, which actually highly benefited a lot of these teams, because they would have guys that were already 2 years ready at this level, playing in this level, that they had just had ready-made first 15 players just ready to go on the on their bench, and so it really paid off. But I thought, well, if I have a top 200, high school, they have the top seniors, they have the top juniors, they have the top sophomores, they have top freshmen that all play varsity or junior varsity, and they have all these. So I thought, I might as well just chuck in some year 12s. And then I found out later, in about a year, I looked at it and I go, the year 12s are pretty close to the year 13s. And so I thought, if there's a bigger gap, it's year 11s. I always found that there were like maybe 1 or 2 year 11s. Sometimes there's 4 year 11s, depending on what school you go to and how much they need to rebuild. And they usually use it with young guys. The smartest thing to do is use it with your most talented year 11s, who are maybe sometimes under 15 as well, but they can actually play off that level. And then I thought, I might as well do it with year 11s too. And then I made a top 60 year 11. So there's a top 60 year 11. So if your son's year 11, he's in the first 15, And I know about him, but basically he'll be looked at for the rankings. There's also a top 100 year 12s, and then obviously a top 200 for everybody. The same way I looked at that is the same way that I looked at first team rugby as a whole in terms of teams. And so I thought everyone should look for a national championship to be within their cupboards at the end of the season. That should be the goal for every single team. So apart from just winning your region or winning your competition, your local competition that you're in, the main goal should be winning the national championship. So I put together my own top 100 rankings, with the top 25 being the main focus of the top the top team rankings within the country. And it's not really based on how many games you win and lose. Winning and losing is a part of it, but it's not everything. For example, we'll take the Super 8 because it's the easiest one that you can do. If you look at the Super 8 and you played in the Super 8, if you're a team that's not playing in the Super 8, but if you were to put your team in the Super 8 and you had to play Hastings and Hamilton and Tauranga and New Plymouth and Napier Boys, New Plymouth, Palmy and Gisborne, the majority of those teams, 6 or 7 of those teams, would most likely be in your top 25 every single year. If they're not in it, they'll probably make a feature for like a week or two, then they'll drop out. But for the most part, there's always six of those teams are basically in there all the time. Now, I'll take a team like Bishop Verde, which is from like Wellington, from the Porirua area, and I'll take them for example because they're a smaller team. They're not really, but Bishop Verde, if they played in their competition, a really good team this year, Bishop Verde, and if you took that team and you played in their competition, they would probably lose a game or two every single year, something like that. If you place that same Bishop Verde team in the Super 8, most likely they wouldn't even win one game because the level is just so different. If you go to another one, if you look at the CNI, we'll take someone like Rafkill, who's over in South Africa, played some games over there. If you took Rafkill there and put him in the Super 8, most likely they'll only win one game, maybe not even win a game in a year. Even if you go over to North Harbour, if a North Harbour team went to the Super 8, depending on what team you're in, you most likely won't win a game. If you're Rosmini, if you're Whangarei, if you're Westlake will beat maybe 4 or 5 of those teams. If you're Takapuna, you might not win a game. If you're Orewa, you might not win a game. If you're Rosmini, you could probably might get 2, you might get 1, or you might not even get any. If you're Massey, you might get 1. Maybe, depending on the year, you might not get any. Westlake for sure will win a few games. Westlake is one of the top teams in the country. But what I'm saying is that not every competition is equal. Not every competition is the same level. Not every competition that is played, you get to have a rest. In the Super 8, you don't rest on any single game. On any single game. You don't have a team in there where you can go, oh, we'll just chill out on this one. We've got this easy. No such thing in the Super 8. So a team like New Plymouth, who might only win 1 game or 2 games out of the year, if you took their record and go, oh well, look, they've only won this many games in their competition. It's like, yeah, because it's way different. If that team came into your competition, they'll probably most likely win your competition. So when it comes down to the wins and losses in terms of national rankings, I don't look at it that way. I look at your competition, I look at the teams that you played, I look at how much you won by and how much you lost by. I look at where you lost, like depending if you travelled or if you're on the road, like when your teams like Christchurch or with your teams like Nelson or Marlborough or Southland Boys or Wakatupu, like all these kind of teams that all have like massive travel. Whangarei boys, there's long travels. Taking travel into that is also a massive deal as well. So all those kind of things go into it. Team winning away from home, especially if you have to travel that far, is a massive feat. You know, that's a really good indication of how well you can be. Teams that travel and that win games on a long haul, they're just a more they just gain more experience out of the hardship of traveling, waking up in the morning, waking up in a different bed, waking up, you know, with a different routine, not having their surroundings, not having a supporting crowd there. Depending on where you came from, one parent might even show up. I know in Gisborne, when you in the Super 8 you drive to Gisborne, your family must be pretty dedicated if they're driving to Gisborne. Trust me, that's not an easy place to get to, depending on where you live, especially if you're going from Palmy, especially if you're going from New Plymouth. Going from Wesley all the way down to Masterton, down to Rathkill, that's a long ass drive. Even going from Francis Douglas over to Hastings, if you get Francis Douglas playing St. John's or Lindisfarne or something like that, that's a long ass drive. You know, it takes a lot of commitment to do that kind of stuff. So all those kind of things, when it comes to your wins and losses, all those kind of things add into it. Then I get into like who's done, you know, how many wins they've had, how much they've done it by, how much are winning their win streak within their competition, depending on what the competition is, all those kind of things, and I put them into rankings. So all those things as well also go play a big part in it too. And then so when Nationals comes up, I always have a problem with Nationals just because of the way that it's set out, right? Just because of the way it's set out, because you have to go and you have to win your conference first. You have to win your competition, win your region, which is like, you know, the Chiefs, Blues, Hurricanes, Highlanders, all that kind of stuff. Christchurch, your Crusaders region. Once you win that, and then you sort of play it down. Whereas I feel, just within my own experience of how this works, it's pretty unfair for teams. Like Auckland teams will have a massive problem with the way that it's done now, because only one of them can get as far. The Chiefs region, where I'm from, is another one too, because everyone has to go through Hamilton Boys. And if you look at the record for Hamilton Boys missing out on going to the top 4, they barely ever miss out. So if you're Tauranga, if you're Rotorua, if you're Wesley, if you're St. Peter's, St. John's, St. Paul's, all these guys, New Plymouth Boys, they all have to try and go through Hamilton Boys. Like, who wants a Hamilton Boys in their region if that's the only way that you can get to Nationals? Arguably the best high school rugby team in the world, who wants to go for them in their region every single year? Now, if anyone was to complain, I would say to them, you're just lucky you're not in the Waikato. If you're in the Chiefs region, you've only got to worry about one team, really. And a team like Tauranga found that out last year, where they beat Hamilton Boys twice. They felt like, oh, yep, we should be all good. Then they tripped up against Rotorua Boys, and Rotorua Boys tripped up against Hamilton, and then Hamilton Boys became national champions. And they weren't even looked at to win it. I wasn't even looking at them to win it, because they lost both times to Tauranga Boys, and Tauranga Boys just took Rotorua Boys too lightly. That's what happens, you know. Just really, you put it down to it, Tauranga should have the national championship in their cupboards, but they just don't. It's just one of those things. Now, all of that is just for information for you guys who are new to this, who your sons are new to this, or your grandparents if you're new to this, uncles and cousins and girlfriends that watch this thing because you want to follow your boyfriend, whatever. That's how I do things, and that's how I come to the conclusion of what I have. If you have like any feedback or bite back, whatever back that you want, big back, just message me and let me know. Tell me what your argument is. Tell me what you think I'm doing wrong or whatever, and yeah, we'll talk about it. Just make sure you come respectful, because if you don't, I'm just going to tell you to kick rocks and then not even answer you back. But
Now go middle and then go fast. Hold him up! He's down now! Numbers!
But yeah. Getting on to these past games, Moascar Cup game was massive. Moascar Cup game was so big. Honestly, that could be a national championship game. That's how close this game was. One try for most of the game. Westlake boys came back late. Penalties, just didn't make it, and you know, it was just that hard of a game, and the skill set of it was massive too. And here's the thing, right? Oh, it's damn fly. Here's the thing. Westlake boys are not far off being the top team in the country. Remember, like, Travis Finlay's still coming back as a number 8, and I'm guessing, and like I said it last week, where I think Westlake have the best loose trio in the country, with Arlo, Solomon, and Travis. And even when Solomon came back this week with him and Arlo, he just showed up like sort of that really strong physical presence for them. And then even when Travis comes back, Travis with his run game, even his defense, and he's not the biggest guy out there in terms of loose forwards that you'd see. And I have this feeling where Travis, I think, might be more suited to open side once he leaves school. But if that loose trio gets it right, I can see Westlake winning a national championship at the end of this year. And they still have to watch out for for St. Kitts, or whoever wins the 1A, whether it's St. Kitts, Kings, who's another big team, Auckland Grammar, who beat Rotorua Boys on Saturday, as another team to probably watch out for as well. Kelston, who's on a big rebuild, but they're still pretty strong. St. Peter's, who just lost out to Westlake Boys, as well as St. Thomas on Saturday, which in the exchange down in Christchurch. And St. Thomas is also like a top 10 kind of ready team as well. Westlake is not far off there. And so don't be surprised if this also becomes a top 4 team as well. And I think, like, in yesterday's game, the difference of just yesterday's game, and like I kind of felt this last year, as well as when I saw Liston play Hamilton boys, is for me, this team doesn't work out, this Hamilton boys team doesn't work out if Liam van der Hayden is not a bully. And I even felt this last year. Like I didn't think, I was surprised that Liam made New Zealand secondary schools last year. And it's not that he didn't deserve it. It was more like the mongrel wasn't there for me when I would watch him play. He's big and he's strong. Hardly anyone can just stop him one-on-one. He really does take up a lot of players just to put him down. But I didn't think anyone was scared of him. I didn't think that he put the fear in people like he really should. I watched the Liston game and I still didn't think he had it there either. And when I saw him in the Hamilton boys game just against Westlake, I thought, oh shoot, this dude is really smashing through these guys. And not just like he had all this mongrel. Like I want to see him push someone in the face, man. Like honestly, I just want him just to push someone in the face. I just want him to see him collar somebody, just to make sure people know that he's there and he's in front of them. And Westlake, he was kind of like that. And I saw this big, massive difference in this team when he's like that. And I'm not saying lose control of who he is as a player and what he does and get caught up in all that niggle and stuff, but to make people scared of you even before you've got the ball and not just look at you like, far he's big, but far he's big, I hope I don't have to tackle him. Oh shoot, he ran it, I had to tackle him. I hope someone else tackles him on the next one. Holy crap, I have to tackle him again. Oh damn, I'm getting sick of tackling him. Because then on that third one, that dude that's been tackling him twice, he's not going to want to tackle, and then that's when you find gaps. Liam was doing that against Westlake boys. And I hope he keeps that consistency throughout the whole year, because I feel like that's what the best prop in the country should look like. Is like what he does. Or like what he did in that Westlake boys game. And I think if he didn't do that in Westlake boys game, I don't think they would have won. Because he was by far the most dominant player in that game. No one was running. Like honestly, to be honest, the closest person to him was probably Solomon was probably another one. And then even Matt, the year 11 for Westlake boys at centre. He's probably the other guy that I thought had a really good game and got them. Matt Fleming. Actually, Matt Fleming and what's his name for Hamilton boys? Cullen Parai, who was on the wing. Those two guys, every time they touched the ball, they made a massive difference in what was happening. Both year 11 players, both top-rated players that I have right now, along with like Thomas McCoy from Tauranga Boys, who's like another guy that I really like right now. Like guys like that, but Matt Fleming and Cullen Parai, both of them, once they touched the ball, they were both making massive differences. Like down on that left side on the first half, Cullen probably touched it 4 times, and him and the fullback Nathaniel were just making these big, massive runs down that side along with Ollie Gurin. And for year 11 like that, the same way that Matt Fleming did, I thought was like, man, like these guys are only year 11. Cullen and Matt are only year 11. The more that they start building up on this, I hope we see like, these flushed out kind of finished players when they hit year 13. Because Maxwell Cutter, who went into second 5, who's playing second 5, he just hit the weight room and he's come back and he's just a force this year. So good. He's so good and plays so different from what he did last year. And the contact that he's making, which was like another big difference that they had, is that contact that he was taking in these games, I thought was such a good setup for Ollie and what he could do. But when I watched the game and just watched sort of the little clips that I took for myself and my footage that I have and got sent, like Liam van der Hayden is the key person for that team to be successful, and he should be, and he should feel that way too, because he's a secondary school player. You're already a New Zealand secondary school player. You should be that good. You shouldn't have any standard of like maybe on had a bad game. Maybe you just shouldn't have those kind of thoughts and feelings, because you're already hit that top. Now the pressure is there to kind of keep it, and the pressure is also there to go. I've got another year at New Zealand secondary schools. Me and Ollie have both made it our first 2 years. Year 12 year. Now year 13, we got to have to welcome this pressure and take it on. So like for me, it's just like when I watch those guys, play and like what I did when I watched him play on Friday, I just thought, I want to see this Liam play every single game. And when you watch him on Whakata Māori when Super Rugby starts up, I hope everyone tunes into Hamilton Boys games, and hopefully you get to see that Liam every single week when he comes out like that, because that's the Liam that I think everyone wants to see. Dude has trimmed down a lot this year. He's always been fit. Because even last year as a year 11 when he played, he was fit too as year 11. So fitness was never the problem. Even though he looked like really big, it's like fitness was never his problem. The tough guy thing has to come into it, and hopefully tough guy is that's what it is this year. I hope that's what it is. But yeah, that was one of the things that I looked at when I was watching, some of that stuff back from that game, and I looked at them and I thought, yeah, Liam was the key person to this game. Like, he was the key person in this game. And even when I look at the Super 8, like for Hastings, like if I looked at Hastings, I thought, how's Hastings going to win this? Even though they got JJ and Issy up front, for me, it is the backline. And the backline in terms of, if I look at Hastings, I'm looking at Tana at first 5. Tana and Triumph to me in centre are the two main guys in that backline that should take all the pressure and should welcome all that pressure. Triumph to me has a real big chance of making New Zealand secondary schools, either in the midfield or on the wing. And just this big body, strong guy, really good footwork, really unselfish, plays a lot of defense. For me, Triumph Voice is the guy that I think he should want to chase that New Zealand secondary school dream kind of thing, and he would be the one that I would look at to get there. Even though Reef Robinson is really good, John Lameckel is another one that I thought was that is real key to this. But Tana Famuina is probably him. Tana Famuina and also Triumph Voice are the two main ones. But then you still need John Lameckel, you still need Panapa Lambert, you still need Philbert Viljoen at the back, at fullback with Reef Robinson, who's so quick, and hopefully they get a more ball to play with. But it's this backline. Like, once the ball leaves Tiariki Joseph's hands and it starts going through the hands of Tana and Panapa, like, key switches and changes of the main points of attack should be at Tana and it should be at Triumph in the centre. And by the time the ball gets there, they should already have shape. They should have already had space. They should already have created for each other to make sure that they got their point of attacks hit with timing and that they're doing the same thing. I personally would get really annoyed if John and Reef weren't up to that standard of making these plays work towards the end, because they're both so fast, they're both so quick off the mark. John Lameckel is so physical, and this is somewhat of a warning to wingers. If you're marking up against him, do not go in for soft tackles. If you think that he's going to run it at you, or if you've got this thing where he's like, is he going to run it at me, or is he going to take my outside? 100% he's probably just going to run it at you, because he can run over everybody. So make sure that you're prepared to tackle once you look at the team sheet and the team sheets come out and you go, oh shit, I'm on our side, I'm going to be okay, I'll have to play physical. And you have to play physical. There's no other way you're going to win this out of it. Make sure you tackle right, and don't try and tackle just to make a big hit. Tackle with like skill and purpose. Don't get bumped off, even if it's an easy just take down tackle. Just take him down. Don't try and put a big hit on him. It's not going to work. And if you try and do a big hit on him, he's just going to come back for more. So in those situations with John Lameckles, just don't do that. But make sure you make good safe tackles, things like that. Just get him down, because if he bumps you off and you're going, he's probably going to go all the way. And Hastings backline is a really good supportive backline where they all just fall into place and they're right there for offloads. And so Hastings, who are going to be a top 5 team this year, starting the season, even though they have a strong forward pack, to me it's in their backline where they have to win these games. They're too old of a team in the backline with everybody returning. Everyone's got a lot of experience. They've all been playing high level fish at the end with reps under their belts and all that kind of stuff. But as a whole, all these guys are ready, and that should be their what they stand on in terms of when they're for them to win the competition in the Super 8. I don't know too many other teams that would be better than that Hastings backline. Like, I think a good matchup for that Hastings backline is like when Hastings and Tauranga play, because Ethan McMillan and Zeke Jackson, these two, hopefully they both play in the midfield, because they were swapping out last year at centre, and Ethan McMillan would sometimes start and then Zeke would sometimes start, and they would sort of go back and forth. But I hope both of them end up in that midfield. Like, if these two end up in the midfield, I don't think, like, I would have a hard time picking Maxwell Cutter and Ollie Gurin. I think the only thing with Ollie Gurin is that he's just so big and strong, but he also has these just breakout runs. But Ethan and Zeke, like, I actually, they're just such a good pairing. I'm not too sure there's going to be a lot of better midfielders than those two and Tauranga boys. And so I think when if you were going to go watch Tauranga boys, those two would be the ones that I'd probably watch. And just the way that because they're not like big guys, but even Ethan last year used to break tackles, and then he just used to get right off the mark. I think like St. Peter's, Cambridge, that'd be another midfield that I'd probably back as well. That's really good, but I don't know if they'll be better than those two. But there's not too many of them around that are back. But these two, Ethan and Zeke, like, if you're playing Tauranga boys, just watch out for those two. Those two are like, they just don't look like much either. I always like those ones. I always like those ones that don't really look like much. They don't look like they can, they're going to break any kind of line, or they're not going to hit you hard. But these guys, even on defense, both of them, they're just scrappy defenders that work hard. They'll counter-ruck. They're not scared just to put their head in there and then just get in and drive and support, even like clean out. They'll be first over the ball. They're not scared of that kind of stuff, which I think makes them so much more interesting to watch. And so, like, that would probably be one of those ones as well that
Line speed, boys. Go!
One team I did want to talk about was Timaru Boys. Timaru Boys have, obviously they're going to be led by Jay Rayhana. And Jay Rayhana, who plays fullback, I actually can play anywhere, to be honest. He plays fullback though, and I think his secondary school chances would come from fullback. And they would easily win they're easily going to win their competition. They've had to go into the second competition because of travel, and it's just not working out for them. But this team will push everybody. I have like so much faith in this team. Like for example, they have Luke O'Connor, Fatai Latu, he's back as the hooker, and Tyler, I don't know if it's Ratcliffe. I think it's Ratcliffe or something like that. Those three coming back in the front row is a massive deal, and if they were playing in the Miles Toyota first, like they would be there with everybody, and because they have what's his name, GP Vander Herden, who's the lock, and he's year 12 this year, but he started the whole year last year, and he's one of those guys that I think hopefully he gets picked up for the Crusaders camp, because I think that he deserves to there. Even Marco, the number 8, I can't remember what his last name. I think he's Samoan. But like there's so many of these guys. Joe Parkin's another one, and it's sad that this team won't be able to play in that top competition, because they won't get the hard games they would every single week if they were playing in their top competition. And Jay Rayhana's alright, but for me they got guys like George Davis, and they have John T. Coles who played last year, who most likely will be the first 5. Zai Woodman will be another one. Nick Murray would be another one. All these guys this whole team is just such a good team, and they just didn't have the funds to travel this year because it just got too much with Raniora, Marlborough, going up to Blenheim and to Nelson. All that stuff just becomes too expensive. And like my fear is that like scouts won't see them, or scouts won't take them seriously. And Jay Rayhan is alright because he's already been there. Like he was there last year. He's most definitely going to make it again. And I just wish and hope that they don't get discarded because they don't play Christchurch Boys anymore. They don't play St. Bede's. They don't play, Christ and Nelson College. All the big teams. And so they're just going to get overlooked. And they're just one of those teams as well. And even when I watch them, and I'll be watching them this year, and hopefully they have games put out there, but I'm still going to keep them in the rankings. They will be a top 50 team that's in the rankings. They'll go to close to top 30. And then I'm going to have to wait for their traditional games that they have for me to really judge about where they fall in terms of the rankings, what order they fall into, because you need to see them against some of the best teams. You need to see them against some of the best players. And so that's going to be a real hard one, And then like for someone for like Jay, I would want him to go and play against St. Bede's and see how he goes against like LaDainian Davis, guys like that. I want him to go. I want him to be able to see Jay play against these defenders that he can run through, play against these backlines that he can really show how the game can open up for him, so that once they go into reps and all that kind of stuff, they can see sort of the true talent that he is and what he can actually bring to a team, because even like when I think of like some of those Christchurch teams, like St. Bede's, like St. Bede's, talking about LaDainian Davis, like him being at fullback, I would want to see him go against Jay Rayhana, and then really see that sort of back and forth battle. Even Ruben McIntyre, second five, because I think St. Bede's is gonna, if they're gonna win games and if they're gonna win some of the tight games, LaDainian Davis and Ruben McIntyre, the two players that I'll probably go to if I was St. Bede's. And then like having George Kneebone at halfback, who's a year 12 back again, consistently starting, he'll be the other one that I'll sort of focus on and sort of make sure that he gets the best platform to work off, and then make sure that he gets, because I have a feeling that Ruben McIntyre played second five all year last year, might move into, he'd probably go into first five this year. I don't see LaDainian Davis going into first five. I think he'll stay back at fullback, but St. Bede's is like another one of those teams that I like to watch, and I think they're coming up next year to this year to St. Peter's as their exchange. So hopefully when that happens, I'll go and watch them, because I really like St. Bede's as a team. But yeah, some of the other teams. I've been watching a lot of fielding games. I've watched all of theirs. Really great, solid team. Obviously to Alani and Joseph. Joseph Nikolai at number 8, really just destroying right now. But having a watch of their games, I saw the Nelson game against Liston. Really good game. This week, hopefully while you're watching this, I'm in Hastings, because I really want to go to that quad. I've got, let me see what games. So these are games I'm thinking of, right? Quad Monday, today. Kelson, I'll be up at Kelson on Tuesday, because I think that's when Gisborne go up. And then I'm going to Taupo on Wednesday, because Napier Boys and King's College should be playing. Hopefully that's still on, because those will be the 3 games. So I'll be at Hastings, be in Auckland. Hastings Monday, Auckland Tuesday, Taupo Wednesday, and on Saturday, I don't know who I'm going to see on Saturday. I thought the Tauranga Wellington game was up here, but I think next week I'm going to that one, Rotorua and Wellington and Taupo next week, Thursday, I think it is. Oosh. But yeah, they're going to be some good games, and those are the games that I'm looking at going to this week and next week. So a little bit of travel. Going to make sure I have gas, pretty much. Get that petrol going. But I love doing this. So all you family members that are new to this, I love doing this. I do this. Honestly, this is not like a money-based job where I'm going to become rich or anything like that, because it's clearly not that. I just do this by myself. The money that I get from subscriptions, which is obviously through like companies like Stripe and that, they all take their cut of it, so it's not like I'm this big, I earn a lot of money. I still work full time as well, so I'm nights at full time at night time, and so I just love doing this. I love going out to see all the boys play. I love seeing new talent. I love seeing players come back from the summer and seeing how they've developed. I love seeing teams get better. I like seeing that kind of stuff. Like in terms of where kids that were year 11 and you get 12 and they come back the next year and you just see this new fire about them, this new urgency and hunger for whatever goals that they have. I just love seeing that kind of stuff. And so I love doing this. Like every year is new. As a Chiefs and Warriors supporter, and a Jazz supporter, and a Chargers supporter, and a BYU supporter, and a Kentucky and Duke, North Carolina supporter, those things are easy because you know what's happening. You know what's coming back. You know what they're going to look like. But first in rugby and with any high school sports, when he's 16, short and tubby, and then he turns 17 the next year, and he's tall and lean, and he's no longer a fat hooker that is just talented. He ends up being this big monster who's fit and ready to go and still talented, and he's still getting better, and like things like that I love seeing all these kids come back from the summer and I've had this switch of like, I gotta get serious. I want to do this. I've got goals. I've got accomplishments that I want to, I've got people to prove myself to, all those kind of things. I love seeing that kind of stuff. And that's why I do it. There's no one else in the country that does anything close to what I do, at any kind of capacity. And, I just want to help these boys any way possible. I'm going to be the first person to talk about your son, your grandson, your boyfriend, your cousin on a national platform before anybody else. Most people that come from magazines and from newspapers comes from me. Verbatim, they have taken word for word things that I've said in my articles or in my podcast. They just listen to, then they just write it down. They switch some words around, make it look like it's like, hey man, I'm the only one that talks like this. I've not gone to school for any kind of communications. I haven't studied communications. I haven't studied writing or English journalism or like journalism in any kind of way. I just do this and I just talk the way that I talk. I write the way that I write. I evaluate the way that I evaluate, and I scout the way that I scout, and then I help your sons any way that I can. But until next week, love you all. I'm Herschel from High School Top 200. Later, ball.